What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another weekly update. And in this video, I'm going to provide you some insight into the coming weeks, some upcoming earnings I am looking at, state of the market, current events that are happening, and I'm also going to give you some things that some particular tickers that I am looking at for the week. And coming into this week, we have a huge week. Last week was a massive week. It only took a couple days, and we have almost fully corrected 10%. On Friday, we came very close to having a full 10% correction on the index. So we are getting very close and coming into Powell this week. That is where I believe we'll end up until we get word from Powell. So being said, let me go ahead and throw this on XPX, and then we'll bring up the different things we got going on this week. So first things first, upcoming earnings coming into this week. We got Microsoft on Tuesday. We got Tesla Wednesday and Apple Thursday. There's tons. This week is filled with tons of earnings, and this is why I do a lot of daily updates as well. So a good thing to subscribe if you haven't done so already, because I do daily updates that provide information, piece of news, something changes, and then you can get into better positions throughout the week. Perhaps Microsoft does really bad, and then perhaps Boeing does good, and I decide to play Boeing. Not that Boeing is one of my favorite, because it is not, but just an example. Something like that may happen during the week, and then I shift focus. Especially in a market like this, you have to be very agile and adjustable, and not be fully committed to one side, not be fully committed to a bullish side or a bearish side, but be able to flip-flop on the dime, especially in this market. So being said, in the following week, we do have Facebook. There is Amazon. There is Shop. There's a lot of other big ones. I don't have specific dates on those. Again, I'll provide those on daily updates when I get those. I think a lot of them still haven't announced it. I know e-commerce is getting hit really bad, and I think because of the supply strain, that is something, those earnings are probably going to bring the market down even more. Again, then plus the events this week, which, as you can see here, the biggest event and everything that we have been waiting for is on Wednesday. Fed Powell, the Fed come back this week, Tuesday and Wednesday, so you'll hear a lot from them. But most importantly is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Wednesday. Powell will come on, essentially closing for the Fed, and will give specifics on if there will be rate raises, how much in time frame. That is really what people are waiting for. Again, I've been talking up to this point. If you followed me at all to this point, he is, I think, going to come in and be the old Powell of old. He is not going to be hawkish. He's going to say, we don't know. We still don't know yet. We're going to continue to discuss it, but that's about it. I think the market will have a fit over this. Again, this is just my thesis. Like all my videos, I truly believe you need to have a thesis going into every day. You need to know the events that are going on. Technical analysis is great to know supply and demand, but you need to know what's going on. You need to know the events so you don't get wrecked. Ultimately, right? That's what matters. Because based purely off of technical analysis, you won't see an event that occurs at 2 o'clock. And if you are just going off of technical analysis, you'll be hit and blindsided. And that's what I try to avoid with why I created this channel and why I do this feedback to help you. But nonetheless, Powell Wednesday, that is the biggest event that we're coming into. Again, I think he's not going to come in and be hawkish at all. The market's not going to like that. I think this correction that we are getting, because we're very close to an actual correction on the index. Some of your really big names have lost well over close to 50%. Some of them have lost 50% because they're trying to price in a rate raise. Because I believe they think that Powell is going to be the Powell of old and not raise rates at this moment. I think it will come in an emergency rate raise. And so to avoid the shock on the market, I think the market's trying to price that in. And I think that's what we're getting now. And then when they emergency announce it, it's not going to be that dramatic. even though this is dramatic now, it's happening now, because if the sooner you can get it towards the beginning of the year, the later on, the full rest of the year you have to make up for it, to make all-time highs, and then go into price discovery, which we haven't done towards the end of the year. If you've been noticing, every time we made all-time highs, we kept selling off. I think that's because the market wants to price in a rate raise, because they know it's going to happen. At least one is going to happen. I would say maybe one or two this year. I know they've been talking about four, but I think it's really going to be one or two, possibly. So to get that first one out of the way, they're trying to, I think, price all that in. So when we get these rate raises, they aren't as dramatic, and they aren't taking down the market with one essentially emergency rate raise, which could happen if we were going all-time highs, price discovery, and then here we're getting a rate raise. You don't want to limit down in one day because of rate raises and trying to price that in. Let's price it in the beginning of the year. That way we have the rest of the year to keep pushing up. And then when we get these actual actions to take rate raises, that we'll have smaller pullbacks, as opposed to these massive, oh my gosh, look what just happened kind of pullbacks, these sticker shock pullbacks. So again, Wednesday, it's big events happening Wednesday. Might continue to get more selling going into there. But jobless claims after that, I don't think it's going to really have that much of an impact. But Fed keeps talking about it. It's good to kind of know what's going on there. A lot of data comes out on Friday. A lot of core PCE inflation data comes out on Friday. That can sway the market as well. But I think after, what ultimately everybody's waiting for is what Powell will say. And then from that point, we will make a move after that. Again, I think if we can actually get into the 10% correction, which I think we'll make by Wednesday, we almost made it today, but I think by Wednesday we'll do that. And then by Thursday, I think the dust will kind of settle. And then after that, once we have earnings, hopefully the earnings do well. The earnings do bad, we're going to continue to sell. That is one thing to also keep in mind, because you have some big earnings this week. So you got to be really mindful of that. If Tesla does bad, Apple does bad, Google does bad, the whole market is going to continue to sell. We're going to correct even harder. We might go another 7% after the 10%, which could be very much possible, because a lot of the earnings we've seen at this point haven't been very good, to be honest. And Netflix just completely got crushed. Again, expectations are through the roof. And so realize that. So a lot of these earnings that come through are not going to be as good or as crazy as people thought. That's why Apple cut out expectations when the pandemic initially hit, because there's no point doing that, because these numbers are going to be inflated on sales and everything else. And so realize that it's going to come back to some kind of normalcy, and that's what we're starting to see. And so this, even though I thought this quarter would happen later on, it's happening now. And so all my expectations that were going to happen around the March timeframe are starting to happen now. Again, so we're going to see that. So we have to really see what's going to happen. Again, I think we're going to see a lot more selling before we see a turnaround point. But it is, if you are an investor, now I think is the time to start picking some stuff up, start slowly building positions is now, I believe, in my mind. Aside from that, the market itself is going to, again, correct pretty hard. So I got the big ones. I want to play the big ones. Your Teslas, Googles, Apples. I think those have the best strength going into this. Your chips, ASML, LRCX, and NVIDIA are going to be big. Those ones have had strength. And these are all these stocks right here are the ones that have had strength. And if they are losing strength, then the market will lose more strength, because everything else is dying. So once you see these stocks turn, that's when the market will start to go up, in my opinion. So being said, let's jump right into everything here. SPX obviously selling off really bad. Some key points. We've been hovering around this 4,400 mark. I want to see where we are on Monday. Again, I think either we're going to come flat, we might pop on Monday a little bit, possibly for more puts to ride back down going into Wednesday. My take on the market is essentially I'm going to be shorting every pop going into Wednesday. Then on Wednesday, also on earnings, if earnings start coming out really bad, I mean, that might not even matter. We might not get any more pop. We might just get this continuation selling. So that's something else to keep in mind. There's a lot of different moving pieces this week. You have to be very mindful, very vigilant. If you don't like the volatility, it is definitely a very good week to sit out. Or if you're trying to obtain some bigger names this week, scoop them up and then watch and see what happens from that point. So But XPX, again, I'm watching that. That's the 200 on the daily, is that 4,400 mark. If we can hold that, I can see a nice pop here. But again, there's so much data coming out. I can see us actually dropping down. I see us by Wednesday. This is a 20 weekly is down here. The 50 weekly is at the 43.26 mark. I see us there by Wednesday. And again, if earnings are bad and everything, if everything is just a disaster, we can continue to sell a lot more than where we're at. So just be mindful of that and see where we go from there. But again, if we do reverse later on in the week, daily updates again are always good to do that. So follow me for that. But XPX again, I think there's more selling coming till we know. Even then, digestion, I think more selling at that point. Hopefully, earnings are good. Let the market establish a base. Again, if you're not long-term investing, if you're trying to do swings and stuff, you really want the stuff to start basing before start buying in a lot of stuff, unless you're just buying shares and holding and waiting for the turnaround, which is a good time to start doing that, in my opinion, but not financial advice. Bitcoin took a major hit today. So this is something else to keep in mind. Like I said, I think we can go all the way down to 33 and still be solid on this. But we have to see. I think everything is just waiting on Powell. Also, MicroStrategies, their whole essentially their whole ecosystem with Bitcoin and paying employees in Bitcoin and everything else, I guess it was threatened by the SEC. So at this point, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. That is very bad for Bitcoin. And as a whole, government wants to regulate it perhaps too much and stop. It's not something that's going to be able to be stopped. So because they're not aware of it, because they're not educated enough on it, they're going to slam the brakes on it and not allow a company to go full crypto and make them, I guess, have some sort of fiat through their payroll system. So we have to see how that whole situation plays out again. But again, 30 might be the new base. It's something I'm talking about. Where's the new base for Bitcoin? But we're still good right now. Again, as long we can still come down to that 32 and still be fine. I'm not really worried about Bitcoin at this point. Tesla finally broke support. I talked about this. Essentially that 1K mark. It did break it today. It tried to come back and then just continue to sell off. 900 is a really big support. Again, another one I think can attempt to try to get another reversal off of. If not, we have the daily 200, which is sitting at the 850 mark. Again, they get earnings on Wednesday. Are we going to turn at that point? I think, again, these are all your huge strength stocks and they're dying off. That's saying something about the market. And now we got fear. People are starting to panic sell because they thought the market just went up, and now it's not just going up, it's just selling and selling a lot. So again, this week, there's going to be a lot of volatility and a lot more selling in my mind. Until we get word, I think closer to the ends of the week, we could possibly start seeing some kind of reversal. And again, given that the earnings are good, if the earnings are good and people throw a fit about Powell, whatever the case is, we're going to start correcting and I think start moving back up. So Powell, this is on watch. Tesla, those are my key levels for that. Apple is the next one. Key levels for Apple, daily is at 151. Do I think we hit that far? Apple's really a tough one. It takes a long time for it to come down, but once it does, it kind of gets stuck. But earnings, ultimately, I'm kind of waiting for earnings. Again, the earnings are on Thursday. I think if it has awesome earnings, we can get some mad running again towards the end of the week if everything plays out. More to the upside, you definitely want to watch Apple because I think it start really ripping at that point. So that's why I really have this on watch. Again, these lower levels, this 151 mark on the 200, I don't think it's going to hit that. Again, anything is possible. This market is selling off pretty hard. So if it does go there, that's definitely a strong base to start buying at. But if we do pop, you want to look out for this 168 mark. You're going to get a retracement back to this at some point. We did get rejected off of once already. So just realize the first attempt trying to break that, you're going to get rejected pretty hard off that as well. So that's the other one I got. Google is another big one. It's been blowing through support, which is not good. Blew through the 2630 support here on the 200. Definitely not good. Again, we might have to wait on earnings for Google as well, which I'm not sure exactly when their earnings are. I don't think they're actually announced. It's not listed on the side either. So a lot of these big names haven't listed earnings yet. So I think if they're not this week, next week, or the week after that, kind of spread out a little bit. But with Facebook earnings, it should kind of give us an insight onto how Google is doing. But going into next week, again, looking at the 25.54 mark, see if that holds. We haven't retested the 26.38 mark. So I expect some sort of retest of that, and then possibly more selling into this 25.62 mark. So some key levels here. Again, if we do break above this 26.35 mark, again, you're going to have old support resistance now. So you're going to have that 27.18 mark to watch out for, and then that 27.75 mark. Again, I think earnings really has to do well, I think, for Google to turn around. ASML, it's been holding the support really well. I actually took this today, the 700, hold it. It finally broke it today. So now we're coming down. I think this can actually start really selling down to the 20. If it does hit this 26.25 mark with this accelerated selling, that is my buy. I think we're going to get a really good bounce off that. I'm kind of hoping we get that, especially now that it broke that strong support. I'm actually expecting to come back up to the 700 retest and then start possibly selling even more. But something I think you definitely want to pick up is some chips along this sell-off, especially if you're an investor, because I think that is the new pick and shovel for this gold rush and innovation. So being said, if we do gap up back over 700, that's very good. But again, we have a lot of resistance here, 730, 745, and the 768 to watch out for. LRCX is another big one to watch. It was holding the 610 mark, but dipping. Again, EMA at the month. The 20 EMA is sitting at the 548 mark. If we get down to that point, it's definitely a buy in my opinion. But again, we're going to have to come back up and retest the 610 mark, get rejected, possibly go back down even further. Again, a lot of resistance going back up 643 mark, and some other EMAs here at the 674 mark, 670. We've gapped so far down that these EMAs haven't even caught up yet on the daily. So that's telling you that when we do reverse, there's going to be some huge pops at that point, and there's going to be a hard rejection coming into a lot of these EMAs. That there's such a big gap on them now that you have to realize that when it first comes back, it's going to be rejected pretty hard, and you might get a day or two of solid rejection off these comebacks. So, and then the last one I do have is NVIDIA. NVIDIA is going to be a big one. It's resting on the 200, which is nice to see. As long as it does hold this 228 mark, we should be good. I think we could actually see a pop off this. It does show strength better than some of the other ones, just because I believe this is the leader between this and AMD. So we have to see if this does hold. Again, you've got resistance here at 247, and then you got another resistance here at 264 mark. Again, EMAs are, we've sold so much. EMAs are so out of whack right now. Again, I think you'll get a nice pop when we do start to run. So it's just being patient. If it just starts basing for a day or two, again, why I have daily updates, those are when you get in and then you start getting these massive 30, 40 point pushes up on a lot of different stocks. It more than likely will all happen at once because everything is selling all at once. So just be mindful of that. That's why I try to pick the best ones that I really like and put them on here. That way you can get ahead of the game and then start picking up your mid cap and small caps. Once these start running out of steam, your bigger movers start running out of steam, and then see where it goes from that point. Again, because I think this year is going to be a very rough and volatile year with rate raises going on and kind of overcoming a whole pandemic thing that's starting to come down to a standstill, and so it's just dealing with a lot of the aftermath of everything. So being said, if you've made it this far, remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.